Hey gang, Ronan here. And as you can see today, we're taking a look at the Tier 9 Dutch destroyer Groningen. And I found this ship to be beautiful but underwhelming. And I wanted to give you some idea of kind of how I had set it up and why. We'll take a look at the commander skills. Preventive maintenance, of course, I consider kind of a must-have for any DD. Helps with modules being incapacitated. Last stand keeps you moving and able to maneuver even if your engine and or rudder get broken. Survivability expert to pick up a little bit more HP, which takes you to 20,750. Very important because this ship will take a beating if you get in close at all. Superintendent to add more defensive AA, smoke, and hydro uses. And concealment expert to drop the detectability range on the ship down 10%, brings you to 6.4 kilometers of detection range by sea. A big help, still not great, but much better. And then finally, I took main battery and AA expert for the extra range. You can see I've only got 17 points on this commander. I was using my Tromp commander, but that last takes my range to 14.8 kilometers. And with 17 points, I've still got 4 points to play with. And so, I've been considering what other options I might have. Fearless Brawler's not a bad one. You decrease your reload time by another 10% if you want to make even more use of these guns. And you can see the reload is at 1.6 seconds right now. Pretty strong. Another combination might be Adrenaline Rush and the Consumable Specialist to decrease the preparation time for your consumables and such. That is one other option for the last 4 points. And then Demo Expert to increase your chances of fire, combined with consumable enhancement to add time to your hydro and your smoke. So I hadn't really decided. I don't really have the Elite Commander XP to pick up that last 4 points right now anyway. This was a 10-point commander that I just put 7 points on just so I could make it functional. You can see I'm using some economic bonuses and such. And let's take a look at how I outfitted the ship. Main Armaments Mod 1 seemed like the best option. You've only got 2 turrets on this thing. That's it. So if you lose one, you've lost 50% of your weapons output. The other options, I run a flag for making sure the ship doesn't go boom. Engine room protection rather than damage control system. I want to keep the engines moving. Aiming systems mod 1, well, that just seems like really, I think, the best choice. The AA, it's nothing to write home about. And the traverse speed on these turrets is already pretty darn good. You can see it's an 8.3 second turn time, 180 degree turn time. You don't really, at least in my opinion, you don't need any faster turret rotation. But aiming systems mod 1 seems like the best choice there. Propulsion mod 1, I take that on almost any destroyer. There are a couple of exceptions, really big ones that are ungainly, but you can see that between the flags that are signals that I'm running, etc., you get a 4-second rudder shift time and a max speed of 37.8 knots. Turning circle radius of 620 meters, not too bad. The other options, just they didn't really appeal to me when I considered the ability to accelerate more out of the way. With the hydro and smoke, you can use your rapid acceleration to avoid torpedoes. Concealment mod 1 in slot 5. That's the only choice here for me. You can see that, again, 6.4 kilometer detectability by sea. Not great, but better. Don't need to see torpedoes faster. You've got the hydro, and your rudder shift time, as I mentioned already, really great. Main battery mod 3 is what I chose here just to get a faster gun reload. Drops it by 12%. Increases your turret traverse by 13%. But like I said, you're still at only 8.3 seconds for a 180 degree turn on your turrets. So that's not a worry. Especially when I looked at the other options. I took the commander skill to pick up 20% more range. You could add 16% on top of that, but at that point, the shells, they get very floaty even at the range that they are now. I'm not sure this would really be any advantage. Auxiliary Armaments Mod 2, didn't really see the need for that. And back to the range here, Gunfire Control System Mod 2. I may end up giving that a try at some point. Maybe you already have, to really extend the range out as far as it can. But I like the faster reload. You can see the signals that I'm using here. Juliet Charlie, I don't want to go boom. India Yankee to help with fires. And then to start fires, Victor Lima and India X-ray. November Foxtrot to help with consumables. Sierra Mike for a little bit more speed, which, I think I showed you already, but I'll show you again. 37.8 knots is where this tops out with the signal. It's not bad, not great, but not bad. A little bit more AA damage. And then finally, a little bit more time on the smoke generator. So that's how we've got it all set up. I found this ship beautiful, but underwhelming. I think it is a magnificent looking ship. But as you can see, 2 turrets, not a lot of damage output, although one of the short reels that I'm going to show you here as a part of this video, you'll see it can eat a destroyer pretty quickly if you catch somebody in a corner, which I was able to do. But I am underwhelmed with this ship. I much prefer Tromp with much more damage output. Thanks for joining me. Just hang tight. We're going to take a look at a couple of short examples of gameplay. Well, it's my experience that you're going to do a lot of this. You're going to be using your hydro to spot torpedoes for your teammates while you try to push up secure caps. You can see the kid on the other side, Yodo out there not too far away, and there's a lot of threat here, so I don't want to push around the corner. We've got our sub out there as well, and this is a big part of what you're going to do. You can see I push forward a little bit more here, and I'm just going to let this kind of play out. You'll see I'm going to put some smoke down in case any of my teammates, in particular the Colombo, wants to push up here. That way he doesn't have to use his own smoke, and he can save that for later. I didn't expect Venezia to turn in here, but I guess I can understand why he didn't want to get hit broadside with torpedoes and or guns. So I'm going to give you some particulars that I did not already cover. I mentioned that initially in this game I was using my Tromp commander, and it's a very different ship. Groningen is a shorter ship, has a little bit better maneuverability. It has much less HP. The base HP on the Groningen is 17,600. You can see where I've got it now, and it's it's definitely still not great at 20,750. Max speed 36 base. I've got it a little bit higher than that. I covered that. The Tromp only 33.5 knots. Fire resistance 43%. Tromp is 50%. Now the guns on paper, they look like they really shine. The AP DPM from the Groningen is 280,000. The HE DPM 233, 333. But in a meta with aircraft all over the place and a lot of hydro and or radar, you're going to find not too many opportunities to use it. You can see I've got the hydro active. I've pushed into the cap, and I'm going to try and help finish off the Thrasher and then just do what I can, trying to start some fires. AP salvo max on the Groningen is 8,400 compared to the Tromp 18,000. HE salvo 7,000 for the Groningen and 12,900 for the Tromp. So a big difference. Now you've got a much faster reload in the Groningen, but like I mentioned, you've only got 2 turrets. So if you lose one, which you do not want to do, then all of those numbers get cut in half. Base range Groningen is 12.3 kilometers. You can see I've got it out. That's what you're seeing on the mini map there right now. And then the next 2 quick highlights that I'm going to show you, it's much improved as I've got 20% more range due to changing the commander. No torpedoes on this thing, so these guns are the only source of damage output. And this is kind of the play style. Now, unless there's something I'm missing, you're kind of forced into smoking and trying to start fires a lot. Now, I'm just going to push into this cap here, try and secure it. You can see Venezia is right behind me, and the game's not going to take much longer to finish. We've managed to make a nice finish to this game, I think. And I did my part. You can see 35,000 damage, pretty minimal, but that's 136 shell hits. And why is that? Well, let's take a look. The HE shells fire chance is what, 8% base versus the Tromp's 11%. So you're going to start a lot of fires just because of the reload on these guns. But if you're up-tiered in particular, you're going to find it more difficult to start those fires. And the HE damage base is 1750 versus 2150 for the Trump. Now, I'm comparing it to the Trump a lot. Those are very different ships. I mean, basically, the Groningen is a Friesland. If you're familiar with that ship, it is kind of the same thing, just in a different line. I know I mentioned already this ship was underwhelming for me, and it kind of is. And part of the reason I didn't have a lot of fun as we transitioned to the next game, I followed the Marceau here because he asked me to. He asked me to support him, and I don't generally like to come around this side because you very often end up getting kind of trapped in these islands here, and that is in fact what happened. Although before it was all said and done, he and I we managed a pretty good game between the two of us, and really helped our team a lot in the early going. So while that plays out, I'll get back to what I was saying. Part of what I don't like is that I find the playstyle of this ship just kind of boring and repetitive. It's part of why I don't like the Sherman. You know, the whole idea is to find a position where your teammates can spot for you, and if you're in a division, of course, that's much easier. Smoke up, use your hydro to avoid eating torpedoes, and start a lot of fires. And I don't enjoy that kind of playstyle. But with this ship and the Friesland, those are your only options, right? I mean, you can see there, 2 turrets, 2 barrels per turret. Yes, they put out a lot of shells per minute, but you're going to have a hard time doing a lot of damage because you don't have the alpha, and that's the end of that game. You can see the Marceau and I did fairly well. RCV actually just crushed it. Okay, now this is the last highlight, and the reason that I put this in here is because I wanted to show you what can happen if you do encounter a destroyer at close range. You can see I'm pushing in here to help with Kleber, and I want to try and get guns on Adatara, and I'm figuring, okay, I can get to the edge of this just ahead of me here, smoke up, and get the guns working. But you can see all of the ships that are kind of off to my port side. Wisconsin, Cerberus, Yamato. So that Adatara, he's not going to last that long. I'm going to go ahead and stop here where I don't think the torpedo can catch me from the Kleber, and I'm just going to start getting the guns going. But as Adatara turns, he does eat a torpedo there, I think. But either way, you know, just as I'm able to get going, and this happened to me a lot, just as I'm able to get going, some big shots from some big ships, and down he goes. Now, you know that I increased the range when I changed to commanders, which I hated to do because I've got a 21-point commander on the Trump, but it's just, you have to configure this commander for this ship much differently than for a ship that has torpedoes. Well, in that case, torpedoes and airstrikes. Now, take a look at the minimap. You can see the split just south of my position. Now, I know he's there, and I'm imagining originally he was thinking, well, I'm going to push in and try and get the Ohio, but you can see he's turning my way. So at this point, I think, okay, he's coming for me, and I'm going to get back in here and I'm going to ambush him. And this ship is really great for that. Now, I don't have hydro up, but I don't need it. He's going to be making a beeline either for the gap toward the Ohio that is sitting in the B cap, or the gap that is near me. And if he's pushing toward me, he's in big trouble. He's got 14,000 HP, and you'll see how this trade goes. Now, I could have angled better and taken less damage, made it harder for him to hit me. But I was kind of curious what this thing can do, and you can see I'm just putting a lot of shots on target at close range in a night fight with another destroyer. This thing is absolutely brutal. But you're not going to get a lot of opportunities to do that. And that was probably the most exciting moment in any of the games that I played. And granted, I only played a handful, but if you like this kind of playstyle, smoking up, starting fires, this thing's for you. If not, I would recommend looking elsewhere, something with maybe more than one weapon system.